Oh yeah, friends and fam. Welcome back to another episode of Captain Coleslaw Outdoors with yours truly. Today on the Whys and How-Tos, I'm gonna show you the difference between a back cast and a roll cast. So these are two different tactics for fly fishing, depending on the distance that you're trying to cover and how much back room you have, meaning how much room do you have behind you to make a cast of desired ability. Sometimes you have a big wide river stretch where you can afford to stay away from the hole you're casting at, but still present your fly and entice bites. Other times you're in real tight water quarters and you have trees right up behind you, but you still catch fish if you can make a proper cast. So these two casts are going to be two tools in your fly fishing toolbox that you're going to want to know in order to appeal to those areas. So when you use a fly rod, right, you have your reel, you have your rod, you have your fly line, and then up at the end, you have 6 to 8 feet of clear line known as the leader. So the leader is obviously what you're tying your flies to in order to make it look less intimidating to the fish as possible. Your fly line is what's giving you momentum to cast your fly over large distances. It's the weight of the line that gets the fly out there. It's not the weight of the lure itself. So the first cast that we want to look at is the back cast, which is a great cast for an area like this. It's wide open. I have all the room in front of me and all the room behind me in order to gain that kinetic energy needed to launch the line and the fly in one direction. And the way you do that is like this. So the big thing that I'm focusing on is taking my forearm and doing the casting with my forearm. So what happens is my forearm actually goes from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And the rod becomes an extension of my arm. As I pull a little bit of line out to the desired length, I come up to 12 o'clock and I let the line get all the way back behind me before I move back to 9 o'clock. Then the rod will act like a whip and pull that line that you have setting back behind you and move it in the exact same plane directly in front of you. The line has to get all the way back before you can move your arm forward. And that kinetic energy of the line going backwards is what allows it to get back forwards. Now the next cast I'm going to teach you guys is called the roll cast. Now we don't have any trees directly behind us here, but you can see from the way I cast the difference in mechanics between a roll cast and a back cast and how it changes the distance you can launch a lure, but it also changes how much backdrop you actually don't need to make this cast. So you can see when I do the roll cast, my rod is still going from 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock. But the difference is where the lure is. In a back cast, we're pulling that lure up off the water in order to get that kinetic energy to drive forward. A roll cast, the kinetic energy, the tension on the line that's gonna launch it forward is not whipping back then whipping forward. The water actually holds your lure in place, kind of like glue, which you rip off, and that ripping off effect is what gives the energy for the line to spin and launch forward. So again, you'll notice how my rod still goes from 12 to 9, but notice where the position of the fly is. The fly is on the water, and I almost formed this letter between the loop and the rod. It's called a D loop because the rod is the straight part of the letter D, and then the loop is the rounded part. Once I achieve that letter, you can snap your rod forward and it will whip the fly around and back, almost like a wheel. And that rolling the line and that quick snap of 12 to 9 can get your fly just as far out there as an actual back cast, but you don't need any backdrop in order for that fly to get out there. Pretty cool, right? 2 casts, both achieve distance if done right, but don't need the same amount of background space in order to make that cast. It's still that 12 to 9 wrist action. You still have to guide line off the line, but understanding the physics of how to put tension on your lure tip in order to get the momentum needed to launch it back forward can save you a lot of flies tangled in trees and allow you to fish areas that you never thought you could reach. Thank you so much for watching this little Wise and how-to. The basics of the back cast and the roll cast. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see more hints and tricks for outdoor recreation. And until next time, fellas, keep casting straight, use both casts, and that's it. I'll catch you guys on the next one.